Alright, I just thought I'd make a quick video talking about what I think of the marketing so far for James Gunn's new Superman movie that is supposed to reboot the DC universe. And, well, here is where I stand on James Gunn in general. I've liked some of his movies, I haven't liked others. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was brilliant when it came out. I still enjoy it. I thought both of the sequels were above average. They could have been better, but they could have been a lot worse, and both of them had a handful of great moments in them. Although Guardians of the Galaxy 3 felt a little self-indulgent, but I thought it did stick the landing as an end for the series, at least. My biggest complaint with James Gunn is that he's fallen into the trap most directors today seem to fall into, where in order to get respected by the film community and feel like they have creative control over their project, they think they have to not only be the director, they have to be the writer. And I don't really like James Gunn's style of writing dialogue, or how chaotic his movies can be when sometimes I feel like he rushes the screenplay to get things done quickly, simply because he was trained in an ultra low budget background at a time when they were still using film, so every second that you made the movie longer stretched the budget, so he was sort of trained to make his movies as short as possible. So it's not a personal slight on him, it's just how he was trained. And, of course, an ultra-low-budget background, it also helps if you can do two jobs. So, in addition to wanting creative control, I'm sure a budget reason is why he was trained to write his own movies. However, I would prefer if he took the Hitchcock approach, or even Christopher Nolan approach, where he finds some great writers and has them do the writing. To me, being a really good director, being good at directing actors, being good at deciding where to put the camera and all that technical stuff, and running a film set, that's enough for me to be impressed with you and respect you. You don't need to take on additional duties just to get our respect. And if it's a thing of creative control, all you have to do is, I feel like it should be that all you have to do is be assertive on the set and also find writers who you can talk to who understand your vision, but also know how to write dialogue. So that's where I stand on James Gunn. Now, where do I stand on his Superman movie? I like the suit better than most of the live-action ones we've had up until this point. The only live-action suit in recent years that I've liked more is the one that's in that first flashback scene in Superman and Lois that actually looks like a Superman suit and not body armor made of some sort of latex or something, where it actually looks like it's made of cloth. This one looks more made of cloth, but it still has that latex sort of look that has come into all superhero costumes, particularly in the MCU. So I have a love-hate relationship with the costume, but it's much better than Henry Cavill's, which, as much as I loved Henry Cavill, I absolutely detested his costume. Dark colors and that body-hugging latex just did not work. My favorite Superman costumes are Christopher Reeve and Dean Cain. Dean Cain is the last time I saw a Superman costume and I was like, yeah, that's a Superman costume. It was cloth, and they trusted his physique just to sell Superman. But the first trailer had me really excited. I like the Golden Age influences. I like the fact that he's going for a bright comic book look. As much as I like Man of Steel, each movie has to stand out on its own, and when you have two different directors, you shouldn't expect one director's style to carry on into another's. I I actually like that Crypto's going to be in it. I like Superman's robots in the Fortress of Solitude. These are all things that I've always wanted to see. I like the look of the world. I like the casting of Lois Lane. I like I I think Holt is probably going to be the best live action Lex Luthor we've ever had on the big screen. And that's really saying something, considering that Gene Hackman is one of my all-time favorite comic book villains, all the way back in the first Superman movie. But this just feels like modern Lex Luthor, and I love that he's so calm and collected dealing with Superman. He doesn't want to show him fear, but in private, you can sort of see the burning hatred underneath. Just him watching Superman fly away, he looks so jealous and just full of rage, but then he's just barely holding it in. And it's like, and I like certain other things. I like the Justice League being in it, but I'm not sold on them being called the Justice Gang. I really hate that. I actually like Nathan Fillion getting what looks like it's going to be a decent sized role in this one as Guy Gardner. I like seeing that, and I think that's going to work. And I think that's going to work well. I'll have to see the movie, but the impression I get is that in this world, the Justice League has been around longer than Superman, which is certainly an interesting take, so I'm very interested to see where that's going. And overall, the first trailer had me very excited. And I am going to see this in the theaters, and I'm really hoping it turns out to be good. Now for the few things I'm concerned about. I'm going to have to see more of David Cornsweet as Superman to see how I feel about him in the role. When he's promoting the film, he seems perfect. But when he's performing the lines and taking direction from James Gunn on screen, I'm not so sure. But then again, a lot of these clips could be out of context. And when you take in the whole performance and the whole structure of the movie, it might be okay. But I definitely am not sold yet on a Superman who goes busting through people's doors and is screaming at them. I'm definitely not sold on a Superman who gets way too emotional with Lois Lane. It just makes him feel like a teenager to me. And my problem with him busting through the door, in this case, is that this isn't the Lex Luthor of the 78 movie. In 78, Lex Luthor was a mad scientist hiding underground, both in the comics and on screen. So he was a wanted man, so you wouldn't actually be breaking any laws by busting into his already illegal hideout. Whereas Superman, who is supposed to stand for truth and justice and is supposed to believe in people's rights as citizens, just breaking down somebody's door, and it just, I don't know. I'll have to see what's going on in context and what could be happening to immediately be sold on that yet. I just don't like the amount of yelling and immaturity we've seen so far. I'm hoping that in context it gets better. But some of the CGI looks amazing, and I like the comic book, and I actually like the idea of Superman fighting a giant monster attacking the city. I like that. That is very much something that would have happened in the comics when I was reading them back in the 90s. So, yeah, I like that. I mean, in the comics in the 90s, you had this whole group of mutant rebel things living under the city who would occasionally cause trouble for Metropolis. So this is very much in keeping with the comic book depiction of Metropolis and all that. I like Lois Lane flying a spaceship. I'm not so sold on just on the amount of yelling I've seen from everyone in this and that's the one thing, but that's more of just something that I've had to learn to live with when I watch a James Gunn movie, since I don't really like that style of performance, but it seems to be how James Gunn directs his actors. So if the rest of the movie is good, I'm sure I can learn to live with it, just like I did with the Guardians of the Galaxy series. So yeah, so yeah, I'm I'm cautiously optimistic. There are a few worrying signs, but I'm not in that camp that says, "Oh, I'm boycotting this movie." I see the cracks that might be there and might ruin this for some people, and who knows, it might even ruin it for me. Personally, right now, the feeling I get from these trailers is that this is going to be like a 6 or 7 out of 10 movie for me. But on my scale, that means it's above average, and I'll enjoy it for the most part in theaters, and I'll probably own it on home video and watch it every few years. So that's not entirely bad. My biggest concern, though, is that if it is that, with Warner Brothers in the financial shape it's in, and with how much this movie must have cost with all the heroes they have in it and giant monsters and everything else, that could not only sink this DC universe, but it could force Warner Brothers into a sale of DC, and I'm not sure I'm at all happy with the most likely buyer, which seems to be Sony, and we've all seen how Sony has handled Spider-Man in the past decade or so, and his characters. So, if this movie that probably cost around $300 million doesn't make a profit, and because of Warner Brothers' financial shakiness, where they've been selling off studio equipment that they no longer need, which film studios don't normally do to pay bills, that could cause investors to want a sale of the DC brand to a richer company. I mean, they are selling off a bunch of other stuff. It looks like they're getting ready to sell Looney Tunes, for crying out loud. So anything is on the table. But that's all to do with studio politics and stuff. That has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. I'm just saying that's my biggest worry right now, is that while a 7 out of 10 may be good enough for me to say I enjoyed it and go on with this universe and just learn from the few things that you could correct here, and maybe try for an 8 or 9 out of 10 for the next movie, I'm just afraid they won't get the chance, because people will go to see this movie once, and that won't be enough for it to make a profit, since it will need to make around $600 to $700 million to break even, because of theater splits, marketing, and all that other stuff. But that's beside the point. As of right now, I think I'm going to enjoy it, and I think it'll at least be okay, and I'm hoping it'll be a pleasant surprise when it comes out in a couple of weeks. So that's how I feel about the new Superman movie. What do you think so far based on the ads? Let us know talk about it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.
You're the one that found me.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you save my baby?
Yes, ma'am. I'll save him.
And I will help.
Me too, ma'am.
I want you, all of you, to be my baby's godfathers.
And that is how three lawless men with a price on their heads fell victim to destiny and became three godfathers. Their story is a legend of the Southwest, filmed by John Ford, 5-time Academy Award winner. Their story becomes the most unusual Western ever made.
In my opinion, gents, taking a bath is the least of the troubles confronting little Robert.
Robert William Pedro.
Why didn't somebody stop me before I promised that woman? Well, I don't want to grow no long white beard in the Yuma Penitentiary.
May my beard grow clear till it gets down to my foot. May it get a nest of prison rats before I break my promise to a dying woman.
Who said I was
Why
breaking
don't you
my
kill
promise?
the little fellow
I didn't
now?
say I was
Sure, feed him to the
Why,
coyotes.
you chilly Devon horse thief?
Horse thief,
Yes, horse thief.
A lot of boys stick up stagecoaches and banks and one thing or another. But a man that'd dynamite a water hole in this kind of country is downright criminal.
You heard Mr. Latham when he said $100 dead or alive. I'll add $50 to it. I'd like 'em dead.